Amen.
To General Flynn, General Flynn, first you said earlier, you emphasized the Obama administration had reissued his clearance last year.
Yeah.
So is the implication there that we should be taking that if the Trump administration was the one adjudicating his clearance this year, he would not have been issued that clearance now that the White House knows everything that there is about General Flynn?
No, I think I'm just making sure people understand the process and how it works. And the way a process works is that if you have a top security clearance, you fill out a form. There's an investigation done. You are reinvestigated every 5 years if you are able to maintain that clearance. And whoever owns that clearance, whether it's the FBI or the Department of Defense, goes out, does the investigation. In between that period, you're responsible for updating the information that you've provided in accordance with the agency that issued that. My only point is that when General Flynn came into the White House, he had an active security clearance that was issued during the Obama administration with all of the information that's being discussed that occurred in 2015. So I guess my only point is to explain how the process works and who adjudicated that.
You're not implying wrongdoing on the part of
No, that's why the Department of Defense Inspector General's looking into this to see how that process works. But I think it's important for folks to understand that when someone applies for a clearance, they get that clearance. It's issued at the top security clearance level for 5 years, and that the person who has been issued it then has a legal obligation to update the issuing agency any variances in what they supplied as information to obtain that clearance.
Finally, when you were here on February 14th, the morning after General Flynn was fired by the president, you said that the president asked him to leave the White House because of the situation regarding the phone call to Russian ambassador and the vice president, but also, quote, a series of other questionable instances. I was hoping now you can provide some more information now that more, some of his financial dealings in particular are now have come to light. Is that what led to his termination at the White House?
Look, I think we addressed it at the time, and I think but I that's right, and I think the president made the right decision at the right time, and he continues to stand by that. Major.
A couple of things that have been brought up to you today. John's question, not the process, but your own vetting, meaning the transition. Are you satisfied that met the standard that should have been met with Michael Flynn? And are there any regrets that this White House has about bringing him in, knowing what you know about him now, and seeing the behavior that would be plainly inconsistent with the standard that candidate Trump set during the campaign?
Well, with respect, you're saying our process. The process is every government employee who's eligible for a clearance goes through the same process. So it's not, we don't have a unique process.
That's the only question you asked Michael Flynn. Couldn't possibly be the only thing you asked him.
When someone comes in, the question is, do they have a clearance? If not, they apply for one. And if they have one, then the clearance is made available from the issuing agency. You can't. The whole reason you have a clearance is so that someone is found whether or not they're.
As you just said to Zeke, it was not just the episode with the Russian ambassador. It was other instances. Those things have come to light. Any regret about bringing him in?
I would just say the president.
Have this done, and knowing what you know now, did you miss something, and you regret bringing Michael Flynn in?
I think the president made the right decision at the right time, and it's been pretty clear that he. No, I'm just saying, he made the right decision, and I think we looked forward from that decision, and the decision stands.
On the question about Gary Cohn, the Treasury Secretary, left us with the implication yesterday when asked about retirement savings that they were protected. What you just said is indicated they might not be. Can you help us understand?
I can't. Let me get back to you on that. I was not clear on that distinction. I will have the Treasury folks read that out for you.
So General Flynn came in with just the Obama administration vetting, is that right, Sean?
That's how okay.
Because that's the impression you're giving.
It is.
That General Flynn came in and he walked through the door with just the clearance that was conducted by the Obama administration. That doesn't make any sense.
Sure it does. The same way that when you applied for a credential to the White House press briefing room, when you were here, hold on. Let me explain the answer to you, Jim. Calm down. The kids have gone. And I'm trying to answer it, Major. This is the answer. When you applied, hold on, listen. When you applied to come here to this briefing room as a member of the press, you applied and you filled out certain forms with the Secret Service to have your background run. When I came in here on January 20th, the people that had been cleared the day before were cleared on the 20th, the 21st, and et cetera. We didn't rerun your background. We trust that when you were cleared the first time, whether if you were cleared on December 15th or January 20th, that you were still, that your background check still cleared. Every individual came into this White House, either applied for a security clearance or had one. Everyone in the government goes through the same SF-86 process, every single person. And so why would you rerun a background check on someone who was the head of the the Defense Intelligence Agency that had and did maintain a high-level security clearance? That's it. There's no difference between administrations. When you come in from one, they rerun it. The reason they grant them for 5 years is that it's a very extensive background where they check your contacts, your places of residence, your employment. They go out into the field, they do a lot of that work, and then you are required to maintain updates to that clearance. They re-adjudicate it every 5 years. That occurred in this case, and now the Department of Defense Inspector General is looking into it. That's how
Congressman Cummings accuses this White House of a cover-up. You say what?
I was frankly taken back by his comments today because they're frankly not true. The Department of Defense was the issuing agency for General Flynn's SF-86. We referred them to the Department of Defense, who owns and issued his security clearance, and they got a copy of it. That's how the system works. The documents that he requested, he received. So with all due respect, he got the documents that he requested. Our job, they sent a form letter to multiple agencies asking for a copy of this. What we did was properly refer him to the issuing agency and department and said, this is where you got it, and he got it.
Are there no other documents that you have at this point that could be turned over to this committee
well,
that would be relevant to this investigation?
Not that I'm aware of at this point. What they sent to us, they asked for the SF-86. That we referred them to the Department of Defense. That's great. 2 is they asked for a contract, all copies of his speaking engagements from a speakers bureau. I believe he was referred to the Speakers Bureau for those contracts. And 3 is they asked for all foreign contacts that he may or may not have had. Since the incident occurred that they're questioning before his employment of the White House, I think we've complied with every document that they've looked for. John.
Thanks a lot, Sean. You may have seen the news about the Office of the Inspector General announcing that it's launched an investigation into the payment that the former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn received prior to becoming the National Security Advisor from RT, Russia Today, which is an entity of the Russian government. What's your reaction to that, first of all?
I think that's appropriate. If they think that there's wrongdoing, then the Department's Inspector General should look into that.
Are you satisfied with the vetting that was done of General Flynn by the transition team before he came on board as the National Security Advisor?
So that's a great question. I appreciate you bringing it up. Let's walk through that for a second. General Flynn was a career military officer who maintained a high-level security clearance throughout his career in the military. His clearance was last reissued by the Obama administration in 2016 with full knowledge of his activities that occurred in 2015, as you point out. So the issue is, he was issued a security clearance under the Obama administration in the spring of 2016. The trip and transactions that you're referring to occurred in December of 2015, from what I understand. So, obviously there's an issue that, as you point out, the Department of Defense Inspector General is looking into. We welcome that, but all of that clearance was made by during the Obama administration, and apparently with knowledge of the trip that he took. So that's how the process works, and I welcome the Department of Defense's IG's review.
Thanks, John. As you know, under both the Reagan and Bush administrations, concerns about tax cut-fueled deficits were dismissed with promises of growth, and we're hearing that same sort of rhetoric now. The deficit increased a great deal under both those administrations after the tax cuts. What's different about the president's plan that won't lead to the same sort of ballooning of the deficit?
Well, there's a few things. Number one, we outlined those principles yesterday. We've got a lot of work to do with Congress, and I think it's moving in a very positive direction. There's a lot of pay-fors, as they call them, in this proposal that will continue to be refined as we move forward and negotiated with Congress. So there's a lot of things, but I think the president laid out a plan that achieves or seeks to achieve three basic things. One is economic growth and job creation. Two is a simplification so that the American people can actually file their taxes in a rather normal process that doesn't require a ton of money and time. And three is to do stuff that makes our create a better business climate that makes sure that manufacturing and job creation and people want to hire here, and that we help the middle class. Those are the three guiding principles that the president has. As we do that, one of the things that you recognize through a lot of the models here is that you're going to achieve greater economic growth. It's something that we saw both following the tax cuts in the Kennedy administration and the Reagan administration. I think that we can achieve greater growth, economic prosperity, and job creation under the plan that the president laid out. Ilya.
If middle-income Americans should feel empowered to ask how this plan affects them, why is it that Secretary Mnuchin today could not guarantee that no one in the middle class will pay more under this proposal?
I think everyone in the middle class should know that this president's plan is going to make sure that they have more in their pocket.
So there is a guarantee from the White House. That's the position of the White House right now. That
the position of the White House is that
the
the goal of this of this president's tax plan is to provide them and lower income people with more money in their pocket and a tax cut. Yes. Thank you guys very much. I look forward to seeing you at the signing.
100 days, you're going to do 10 minutes?
Summer